Today, folks, this bullish market never ceases to amaze me. Here we sit at another all-time high day for the S&P 500, and I have continued, and don't hate me for it, to take profit on Google as it hits my price targets of 240 to 250. Believe it or not, I still have a large chunk that I do need to sell off, but as mentioned in full-blown bull markets, I like to pace my selling just to make sure I'm capitalizing on the upside, and I am going to go long the vast majority of the shares that we own, and it still makes up over 9% of my portfolio that stands today. And keep in mind, my fiance also has a fairly reasonable position as a family unit here. It's definitely one of my favorite stocks of the year and was one of the easiest calls with all the negative rhetoric now fully flipping as Google is proving to be the AI dominated leader. And we'll talk about that because it's topped the charts and downloads from the App Store. But yeah, what a milestone, hitting $250, guys. $3 trillion. One of the only handful of companies, I think it's the fourth company to reach $3 trillion in its market cap. The company added billions of dollars in value in September following that favorable antitrust ruling, which I called to a T. I mean, obviously we knew that that wasn't going to be as severe as the headlines were making it out to be. Remember, social media does a great job at driving clicks. That is the job of news tellers these days. Less accuracy, more clicks, because they want to drive the viewership. So it's always sensationalized and it never actually, I think exemplifies the truth. And same with Google search. I mean, Google search was supposed to be dying. It was one of the reasons that everyone was selling off Google. And I knew it wasn't just based on earnings. And now Google search revenue is back up, guys. So we're sitting here pretty happy knowing that I can go long Google and its trading is still at a reasonably fair value. And we'll talk about the value in a moment. But the stock got a big lift in early September from that ruling judge whose penalties came in lighter than shareholders feared. The U.S. Department of Justice wanted Google to be forced to divest its Chrome browser, as we remember. But the judge decided against the most severe consequences proposed by the DOJ. And now, out of nowhere, guys, that they're leading and dominating. The $3 trillion milestone comes roughly 20 years after Google's IPO and a little more than 10 years after the creation of Alphabet. So it's a very great time on these kind of annual periods of their company's history. And I'm so thankful to actually be a part of this. So what I did, as many of you know, I went into buying Google pretty heavily within my tax-free savings account. I owned about 20,000 US of the position, knowing that it was going to be a short play, a speculation on a swing. And I figured it would take about 3 to 6 months for this swing to come into fruition. When we were buying it down at the bottoms between like 150 and 180 was the typical price range I was cost averaging. And I went pretty aggressive there, but I am holding some shares long in my corporate account. My fiance has some shares. She'll go long in her TFSA. But for my TFSA, as mentioned, I want to cost average into the many, focus on the few. Google was the few I was focused on. I felt like I had a good foothold with this, and now we're up 42% for the shares that are still sitting here. I'm sitting on a couple thousand US that I'm going to convert, and I'm going to use that money to buy more VDY. As you can see, when I sold Google around 240, I pivoted those shares almost immediately into the S&P 500 to get to my my TFSA milestone of wanting 100,000 CAD converted value of the S&P 500, and then my secondary goal was getting 100,000 of VDY. I still have over 20,000 worth of contribution room, and this is going to be one of my major milestones of getting over 200K within my tax-free savings account. But I am very thankful for the Google team and everyone at Google that just grinded through it, improved that they are the AI leader. And we can say that with confidence today, knowing that it is the most downloaded app currently that people are turning to for their AI tools. And Google has worked its way back up. Just Google alone, Google search is now the 6th most downloaded app. And I'm very thankful to still hold Meta. I know it's boring and flatlining in this market environment, but with Threads being the 4th most downloaded app, guys, it is starting to creep up on the scale of X, which is absolutely jaw-dropping. And there's a lot of monetization coming for Meta when it comes to obviously WhatsApp and Threads. So I'm very, very excited to see kind of all of this kind of come together and see what the rest of the year looks like, because my prediction still remains that though Google is trading at a fair value where I thought it should be trading, I could speculate that if the bull market sustains, this could easily run up to a $275, $300 stock, which it looks like we're already inching there as time goes on. But the reason I can say that is because they make more net income than any of the mega cap tech companies. They are the most profitable company on the S&P 500 as it stands today, even more profitable than NVIDIA. Now, NVIDIA could pass it with the growth it has, but I mean, we're talking about a company doing $28 billion in net income, guys, more than Apple. I mean, they're still growing their net income at a double-digit pace. The last quarter, 20%. So if you make more net income and you have better or similar growth rates to that of even Microsoft. And let's take a look at the values of Microsoft, because again, if this ran up to a 30 PE, guys, I think it would be deserved, just for how stable the business is proving to be out. And now that they're kind of moving into the subscription-based model with VO3 and a lot of their Gemini suite, look at Microsoft. How is it trading at a 37 times? If we take a look at Microsoft's revenue and net income incomparable, let's just look at the net income, because I think it's a favorable number for investors. But their net income is growing at very similar paces, 20 percentile, but they did 27 billion in the last quarter. Comparably, let's just take a look at Apple, which is trading at a 35 times multiple. This is the reason that I'm holding Google long. The bull market remains. Google deserves a 30 plus times multiple, guys. It could easily run over 300 a share. The easy money, in my opinion, has been made, though. Let's be real. I mean, buying it at a 17 to 20 PE was insane. But let's just do a comparable here with Apple. I just can't get over how cheap Google's been trading. It's not even growing their net income, like single digits, and it did 23 billion last quarter. So explain to me, does Apple, deserve a $3.5 trillion market cap and a 35 PE comparable to Google's numbers? That, guess what, guys, even the likes of Chris Camillo, I went on his X account here, and if you scroll down, he also pointed out now that there's a duopoly when it comes to the App Store for AI search. And this was a really coming to light moment for me, because I had beef with this guy because he was shorting Google when I was buying it. He really thought there was a lot of issues that they were going to lose to these other large language models. And then guess what we found out? We found out ChatGPT was actually using Google for a lot of its searches. That was skewing a lot of the Google trends that Chris did point out. And now they're saying that it's getting even weirder. Nolan pointed out that last week when Chris Camillo shared his thoughts on Google trends, they were definitely doing something differently with trend data recently. It started earlier, but a look at this clear drop right on September 1st was looking into basically ALC 2020's AMD inference thesis around Oracle picking them. And Google might actually start to adjust and recognize that people are concerned about this, and they're going to start removing, when ChatGPT is trolling Google looking for links that it's sharing when people are doing searches, right? And I just think it was so laughable that ChatGPT was supposed to be stealing search traffic, and instead it was leaning into Google for search traffic. It just shows you what a monopoly Google truly is, and an undervalued one at that. But yeah, I've never been more excited to hold a company in my portfolio. So, I need to scale it down. It's still a massive position overall, but I'm having a hard time selling it, because the more I look at it, the more bullish it becomes, and the more I'm like, why am I trading off the best company in the world that is cheaper than any of the other tech companies out there, makes more money than all of them? Like, I don't need to rush out of this, but I'll definitely go long. But I'll pass the question off to you guys. I'd love to know what you think about Google stock in that comment section below.